With the retirement of Justice Anthony Kennedy, the pivotal swing vote on the Supreme Court bench, President Donald Trump will get to make his second nomination to the court. This one could have a far bigger impact on the balance of power and on decisions on issues like abortion and LGBT rights. That's got ralliers outside the Supreme Court today very worried.
This person who gets to be seated in the court is going to get to serve for approximately 40 years, and by sitting in this court, he or her is going to be able to change legislation, change our country as we know it, and undermine basic rights that are needed and that we all need to have.
Kennedy was considered the most influential of the 9 justices, casting the decisive vote on some of the most contentious issues to come before the court. He sided with conservative justices on Citizens United, which allowed corporations to make unlimited political contributions, but he swung to the left on landmark cases upholding abortion rights and same-sex marriage. Now, President Trump and a Republican-controlled Congress have the chance to select a new justice who could shift the court's ideological makeup solidly to the right. Many fear a more conservative Supreme Court could overturn Roe v. Wade, the landmark abortion rights case, and restrict civil liberties for LGBT Americans.
Donald Trump promised that he was going to appoint someone to the Supreme Court who promised to overturn Roe v. Wade, and I think that every woman should have the ability to choose what to do with their bodies. Marriage equality is also under attack with this administration, and that's something that we have to stand up and protect, because we've made so much progress in the past few years, and we can't just stop and let this happen and let a new Supreme Court justice overturn all the work that we have done.
Why do people think that that issue is going to come back up again in the court with a new nominee?
Oh, because Roe v. Wade is the basis of privacy rights. You know, LGBT rights, workers' rights, immigrant rights, all of these things are based on the freedom of expression and the freedom of our bodies and the freedom of our agency. And if Roe versus Wade is overturned, it will strip women from the rights to protect their bodies, LGBT people the rights to free and just lives.
Some conservatives say it's unlikely that Roe v. Wade would be overturned anytime soon.
This is something that comes up every time there's a vacancy on the Supreme Court. We hear howling from the left that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned, and we haven't seen that happen with numerous additions to the court since 1973 when that decision came down. And like I said, it would require a state law to be passed and someone to challenge it and it to work its way through the federal courts. And even then, you know, the court may not be interested in addressing the heart of that issue.
But the court could hear cases on LGBT rights a lot sooner. Earlier this month, the court ruled in favor of a Colorado baker who refused to make a wedding cake for a same-sex couple.
I would point out that Kennedy sided with the baker in that case, and there are numerous other cases in the lower courts, and in fact one that the Supreme Court just sent back to the state Supreme Court out of Washington dealing with a florist. So there are a lot of those cases out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if the issue comes back in the next couple of terms.
Trump's nominee will need to get at least 50 votes to be confirmed in the Senate, and conservatives are hopeful the president will pick his next nominee in the mold of his first selection, Justice Neil Gorsuch.
Well, we certainly hope that we get a Gorsuch 2.0, someone who's going to be fair, impartial, committed to trying to get to the original understanding of the text before them, whether it's constitutional provisions or statutory text.
A Gorsuch 2.0 is terrifying, honestly. We have already seen, even just in the last few days alone, this week has been devastating for workers' rights, for the Muslim ban, for so much of what we care about as people in this country.